Welcome back to the Heart AF podcast. I'm your host, Chelsea VanBuskirk. I'm a mom of 3 and recovering mother hustler on a mission to help millennial moms break free from burnout and reconnect to their feminine power. This show is all about healing, spiritual growth, boundaries, and creating a life filled with more joy, ease, and freedom. On today's show, I'll be talking about how faith is our anchor during seasons of uncertainty. I'll be sharing a few strategies you can use to strengthen your faith so that your foundation is strong when faced with moments of fear and uncertainty. Are you ready? Let's go. Everyone, welcome back. I hope you guys are doing well. So it was interesting because I was talking to one of my friends this morning, and she's having a hard time as a mother, as a parent, seeing her daughter go through some things. And, it's very hard. It's something heavy. It's very heavy that she's carrying with her. And as I was giving her advice, I was realizing that this aligned with a topic that someone had messaged me that they would like me to speak on the show. And so the topic was, how can faith anchor us in times of uncertainty? And we were going through these seasons of, maybe challenges or changes and shifts in our life, and how faith can really anchor us in those moments where we're scared and we're unsure of what's coming. And we can find ourselves in some scary moments. And I think one of the things to remember and remind ourselves of is what things are in our control and what things are out of our control. Because if there's something that we can control, then that gives us power that we can do something about it, right? So if we're in a job we don't like, we have the power and the choice to go bump up our resume. We have a choice to go search out other opportunities. We have a choice to do something for us to change that, right? If we're unhappy in that job, we have a choice and we have the power to do something about it. We can change our job. We can actually take action and do things to create a different scenario for us, to improve that situation for us. Something that's out of our control might be a health condition or something that pops up. Now, there are certain things that are out of our control, but there are things that are in our control, right? So let's say if it is a health crisis, what's in your control is looking up the things that you can do for yourself as far as maybe your diet, your exercise, your environment, low stress. There are things that you can do that are in your control to help your situation. But then there's those things that are out of control. And honestly, the thing that's absolutely out of our control is other people, right? Every person has free will. We can't make people do things or behave certain ways. Even as a parent with our children, we can hold boundaries with our children. We can guide them. We can, set rules to follow. But ultimately, they make choices for themselves, and then they may face those consequences of those choices. Like, we can't control them, which sucks sometimes. I know, I get it. But let's go back to things that are more serious. Talking with my friend in this. Things can feel really heavy because we want to control the situation. We want to know the outcome. It makes us feel safe if we have that control. We want to know how this is going to play out. Let's say you're going through a rough patch in your marriage or your relationship, and it is eating you inside, wanting to know how this is going to play out, right? Because you start thinking ahead. Well, if it's not going to work out, what does that mean? What does divorce look like? What does splitting our family up look like? You start thinking of all these scenarios that aren't even in front of you right now. You're already planning out your future, and you don't even know if you guys are going to make it. You're still so far out there and distracting yourself and going way far when you really just need to figure out what's right now in front of you and not out there. So same thing when we're caught up in the what ifs and we start dwelling and thinking about the future or how this is going to look, and we start painting different scenarios on how things are going to work out, and we try to make a plan to prepare for whatever scenario might happen. We would start to predict okay, well, if scenario A happens, this is what I'm going to do for that. And if scenario B happens, I'll do this. And then we just get all worked up and we're stressed and we're planning. And it's that's not anchoring in our faith. That's not surrendering to a higher power. That is trying to control out of fear. And I talk a lot about this fear and love and the two sides of the spectrum. When we're in fear, we're trying to control, we're trying to plan. And when things are hard and we're scared and uncertain, it's very hard to come back to that faith. But I'm telling you that faith is what anchors you, what gets you through these hard times. So me talking to my friend this morning, she's worried about her daughter and all these things that are happening, and it's out of her control, and she's scared. She's scared and she wants to fix it, and she doesn't know how to fix it. There's so many unknowns. And it's in that unknown that you give it to that higher power, whatever you want to name that. God, universe, whatever that is, you hand that over to them. You pray, you ask for a miracle, you ask for support, and you give it there because it is too heavy to hold on your own. You're not supposed to hold things on your own. You're supposed to ask for help. You have guides and angels and a whole spiritual support team. Your loved ones that have passed. There are so many people in the spirit realm that are there to help support you and guide you. You are not alone. I know so often we feel alone, but I'm telling you, those little moments of prayer, asking for help, asking for a sign, they are there. They are there to help support you. You're not alone. You have so many people fighting for you. I know you must have heard some story in your life about the power of prayer, and that is real. And let me tell you what that is. It's the concentration of these loving thoughts. When they all come together, love is so powerful. It's the power that creates miracles. It's from our source. It's like the ultimate, highest energy is love. And that comes from that divine place, that source of God, universe, whatever you want to name it. And so when you have churches that are all praying together, there's something that happens when everybody is praying together. It's almost like a form of light, like electricity or a candle. Let's use the flame example. You get one flame going, and then you get a bunch of people that have these wicks or sparklers, and they just all kind of ignite, and this fire just spreads and builds, and it lights the next candle, that lights the next candle. And so then you have this huge glowing force of light, of love, that helps bring healing, that helps bring support, and you can feel it. You can feel it. Like if you've ever been in a congregation or a group of people that are all in this high vibe state, you can feel it. It feels warm, it feels love, it feels peaceful. So there is power in this community. There is power in a prayer circle or a shared prayer when you're asking people for love and support. So I know this kind of gets cliche because you'll see people post on social media like, I'm going through this, and people will say, sending you love, sending you prayers, praying for you, sending you love and light, like all those things. And I feel like sometimes they're said a lot and it almost feels like it loses its meaning in a way. But I will say that there is scientific evidence that supports the power of prayer, the power of sending somebody loving thoughts, like sending that loving energy. And so you can do that by praying, meditating, like getting quiet, just focusing on it, even just like literally sending positive thoughts. As hokey and as woo-woo as that sound, it literally works. And especially if you have like numerous people, don't hesitate to call on your friends and just, hey, can you pray for me? Can you pray for this situation? You can ask social media, and you don't even have to say what's going on out loud. You can just say, hey, I'm struggling with something. Can you please just send me your support through prayer, or send me loving energy, however you want to call it. Because I know sometimes people get uncomfortable asking for prayers, or it puts you too much in a religious box or something to that extent. But just ask for that support. The other thing that I was telling my friend too is that as a mom, as a mother, a lot of times our energy is the energy that the household fills. Like our kids, our spouses, the household energy is literally dependent on us. A lot of times you can see your kids' energy change depending on your energy. And so it's so important to anchor yourself first in that faith and to find that safety and that love and that calmness, because then you help the household and everybody else stay calm. So I want you to think about when you're on an airplane, when you feel turbulence, what's the first thing you do? You likely are looking at the flight attendants to gauge their reaction, because if the flight attendant looks scared and freaked out, then you might need to be freaked out too. But it's the flight attendant's job to keep the cabin calm so that if there is some kind of emergency, they can keep things safe, calm, and everybody can get out of the situation safely, right? Because when people start freaking out, it can be chaotic, and that's when people get hurt and things don't go as planned, and it can be bad. Their job is to keep the cabin safe, right? So they're going to be keeping themselves safe and calm, and that indicates to you, the passenger, that I'm safe, everything's good, right? So the same thing as like the mom in the household, like you're kind of the flight attendant of your family, letting them know like, hey, I got you, we're safe here, right? And how do you replenish that safety within yourself? It's by slowing down and, again, finding that source outside of you to rely on. And I know I keep saying the word prayer because that's what keeps coming up to me, but it's literally asking for help, support, guidance, giving your fears, writing it out. So some things that I've done in the past is you can literally write out all of the fears and worst case scenarios that's running through your head. Like write it out, get it out of your head and write it on a piece of paper. And then you can tear that paper up. You can burn it in a safe place to just let it go. Literally, you're letting go and let God. You hear that all the time. Like it's literally giving your fears and everything to God. It's asking for help, asking for a miracle, and letting it happen. You're surrendering because you can't control the outcome. So it's giving that up, relying on your faith and trusting that higher power has got your back, because it does. And sometimes I feel like as humans, we want that validation. And I've said before on other episodes, like, my favorite way to get validation are signs, because they're everywhere. And you can literally ask for something specific to help really get you that validation, a certain bird or an animal or anything you can think of. I feel like that's a really great way to validate and just know, like, they're listening, they are there. I talk to people all the time about this, and sometimes you'll get signs as like smells. So for me, a lot of times, like, I'll just be sitting there or doing something and I'll just get a whiff of like my grandma's scent, her smell, her perfume. I just smell her. And that's a validation that she is with me still, right? She is around, she is supporting me in the way that she can. Sometimes it might come in like a song. It'll be a song that triggers like a memory of your loved one, something in the lyrics of the song, something you were just thinking of, or as an answer to something you were asking. You get answers. A lot of times we just have an expectation of what we think that sign is going to be, or an expectation of what that answer is going to look like. But a lot of times it's coming through like a thought that just pops in your head and you're like, whoa, where did that come from? But it's literally from that source. So it's really staying open to receiving that support, because it's there. I always like to use the example. So let's say you were asking for a purple dragon or something like that. And obviously somebody's not going to see a real live purple dragon, but they might see they're at a red light and there's a bumper sticker in front of them with a purple dragon, or they hear an ad on the radio that's the Purple Dragon store or something like that. But the purple dragon does show up in some form, and it just might not be like what you were expecting. So when you're asking for signs or asking for validation to know like you are being supported, just be open to how that sign comes through. So a lot of times people be like, well, my prayers weren't answered or something like that. And it's like, they are being answered, and they just may not be being answered in the way that you think that they should be. And again, we can't control other people. So when you're praying for certain situations that are based on other people's behaviors, that's probably not going to happen, right? Because everybody has free will and can make their own choices and behaviors and things like that. One of my favorite books, this is a great book I've recommended before, but it's called A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. Fantastic book. Again, kind of goes over the love and fear spectrum and just how you ask for miracles and how miracles are everywhere. Like, you can ask for a miracle, and sometimes the miracle is feeling safe and secure. And the miracle is having that faith, like having that restored faith. So, circling back, faith can absolutely anchor you and provide that safety for you during times of uncertainty. And it's remembering that you always have a support system that will always have your greatest good. The outcome will always be for your greatest good, right? So just really reminding yourself that, nothing can take you away from where you're actually meant to be, and saying that we do have this guidance system, we do have this support system that is always there guiding us and leading us exactly where we need to go. And so it's just remembering that we're going to be okay, because a lot of times we get scared thinking we're not going to be able to handle something, or something terrible is going to happen. But if we put all that focus and energy into the love and like knowing that there's going to be a positive outcome, or just having the faith that everything is going to be okay. And that can be very hard when you're faced with challenges. The top of my mind right now is making me think of a health scare or something that you may not be able to control, but you have to open yourself up to what opportunities or what solutions that might be available to help you, right? Having a faith that like something's going to come up that will help me solve this problem. When we find ourselves in these moments of uncertainty where we're scared, we have to remember to come back to that faith, to that place, to that higher power, knowing that whatever challenge comes our way, whatever hardship, whatever uncertain moment we find ourselves in, and no matter how painful, scary, and uncertain we may be in that moment, that we are not alone, and it's not on us to carry that load by ourselves. We are not alone. You have a support system. It's so important to release all that burden. You don't have to carry that burden for everybody. You don't have to be the superhero. It's not on you to save the world. Give that power back to who it belongs to. Give that heaviness away to that higher power that can hold it, right? That is there for you to lean on. That is there for you to give your troubles to. Like, that's how you offload it of yourself, because again, it's stuff that you can't control, that you can't fix. And that's what that faith is for. That's how we make it through these hard times. That uncertainty is knowing that there's a higher power that's got my back. There's a higher power that's full of love and creation that is there for me. And I just have to rely on it. I have to remember that that's there, because what happens is when we get too far in that fear, in that scared, uncertain space, we forget that we have that support system right there. That's never gone. We forget because we feel like it's on us. We feel like we have to be the one that solves the problem or fixes things. And the thing is we don't have to fix everything. We don't. It's not on us. Sometimes there's things out of our hands. So again, when you have control and you can do something about it, then you do it. You do whatever you can. But you do what you can, and then you give the rest up to God. You give the rest up to your faith. You surrender in your faith and let that carry you through. And sometimes that means just taking one step in front of the other, right? Just breathing, just waking up and getting through your day. You don't have to try to be Superwoman and do everything. It's okay to breathe. It's okay to, give that somewhere else. And what I was reminding my friend is you have to make sure you're taking care of yourself and making yourself feel safe and calm. And so when you do have those worries that come up, you get them out somehow, writing them, screaming them. I've talked about other ways to just release some of these things. And that's probably my favorite, is either screaming, speaking it out loud, right? Writing it down and burning it up, tearing it, getting it out. Finding a good support system of friends that you can vent to and just let it out and let yourself be heard. And then you can move on. Or you can journal and write a letter, as a prayer, or just praying. I know for me, a lot of times when I would go to sleep and not be able to sleep because I have all these worries in my head, that I would just pray, just please take this, pain away, take these thoughts and everything. And that's when you're asking for a miracle. And I'm telling you, miracles happen. You just have to ask for it. Your spirit support system is always there for you, but they're not just going to jump in and help you out unless you ask for it. Okay. You have to give them permission, because they don't interfere with your life unless you give them permission and ask them to come in. So it's your job to ask for that help, whether it's just like helping you feel calm and safe so that you can be a good leader, a good flight attendant for your family. You have to just ask for it and then lean on that and know you're not alone. And I do find it's very comforting to have a good support system, whether that's a friend or a community. I've talked a lot about having a Facebook community group, which I am in the middle of getting together. I did have a group before, and I'm trying to get that restarted so that I have an offering for my listeners. If they need a support group, I want to offer that to you, a free support group that's private and anonymous. So I'm working on getting that situated for you guys too. But yeah, I think that's the biggest piece, is that asking for help and then allowing it to come in for you, and really believing in miracles, believing that you have that support system. Because if we let that kind of negative mindset or our worries take over, the fears take over, then that's when we lose our faith and we lose that connection, and we aren't able to receive or to feel supported. So when you find yourself feeling internally your world is ending, or just feeling like you have no support, you've kind of lost your faith. You've turned your back on faith. And so again, my advice for strengthening that faith is to pray, meditate, have that quiet time, journaling. Some people do like prayer beads, or like I have a mala. You can do kind of prayer with these two. There's a whole thing on malas. If you guys are not familiar with these, they always have 108 beads, which has significance. There's a lot of significance over 108. My understanding is 8 turned sideways is like the infinity symbol. 1, we are all one. So 1 is all aligned. Usually the number 1 is like for God, 1, we are one. Yeah. And then the 8 for infinity, eternity. Let's see. There's like 108 periodic elements. Anyway, there's a lot of symbolism with 108. I think it also has to do with, like our chakra systems, the energy channels, like our chi and stuff like that, like people who do acupuncture and stuff like that, or acupressure point, things like that. But anyway, this is a great way to, like, you can use a mala for prayer, protection, and just another way to, kind of connect us with the divine spirit and everything. So there's lots of resources just to help strengthening your faith. There's a lot of different things you can do: lighting candles, going to a church or community of worship, finding different groups that do certain things. And like I said, I really like asking for signs and really just getting that validation and always being kind of surprised when it comes through. I see a lot of, like I've said before, like numbers on the clock or on my odometer, license plates when I'm driving, on receipts. So I'll see repetitive numbers and things like that. So there's all kinds of ways that will help strengthen your faith. And so just be on the lookout for that. Look out for those signs and things that are coming in that are from the divine, that are from God, that are from your angels and your guides, and really leaning in to that faith. And I'm telling you, the more you strengthen your faith when you're not in crisis or in an uncertain moment, then the more you're able to go back to that anchor of faith, that pillar of faith, that foundation of faith that'll help you when you do find yourself in crisis. Oh, I forgot the other thing I do like to do, oracle cards. I don't know if you guys are into that or have done any work with oracle cards, but those are sometimes really nice to get messages. Or you can also use a pendulum. A pendulum is kind of fun. So those can be for like yes or no answers. And so what I usually like to do is like back and forth for me means yes, like I'm nodding my head yes. And then if it moves side to side, like left to right, that's a no, just like if you were nodding your head no. And so one thing I'll do is I will take a pendulum. And so you can use really anything that dangles, like you can even use like a necklace or something, but they actually sell pendulums. I have one over there, but like usually it's just like, a long string or something with point that's pointy on the end that you can clearly see it's moving one direction. And sometimes they'll do circles. So I set my intention and kind of like program so we're on the same page. So I'll usually put like a pen or something that's going to be going up and down, like kind of like north south, essentially like up and down. And I'll say up and back and forth this way, like the up and down this way, the same direction as the pen is yes. And across the pen this way is no. And so then I'll say, the shirt I'm wearing is red. And so obviously I'm wearing a red shirt today. So I'll, just hold the pendulum and wait for it to swing, and it should swing back and forth the yes, because I am wearing a red shirt, right? And I just do a couple things like that to confirm stuff I know, where I can see, my cup is yellow and it's not, it's black. So I'll wait and make sure that it swings no for that. And then you can ask a yes or no question, like angel, spirit, God, can you let me know, am I going to be okay? And guarantee it's going to say yes, because spirit's got your back. But you can ask it something and it'll swing, and it's kind of fun to see that, and you'll see it move. You can also do things where people will like look at the flame in a candle and you can see it move. Energy is all around us. People say love never dies, and that's true. Love is an energy that never dies. So it just changes form. When our loved ones are no longer physically in their bodies, their love is still there. Like they are still there for us and can still help guide us. So those are just some things that I can suggest for you to help strengthen that faith and know that you're not alone, and that you do have a support system that may look invisible, but you can feel it. I was about to say you might not feel it, but you can feel it. If you open yourself up to that, you can feel it, that you are surrounded, you are fully supported. So yes, so that is how faith can anchor you during seasons of uncertainty or loss, is just strengthening that faith. And some of these practices I've listed, and just asking for help, asking for your guides for help, asking for a miracle, strengthening your faith so that faith is at strong foundations, getting into some kind of practice to strengthen your faith so that it's there and strong when you do face uncertainty or a loss. And then if you do find yourself in a moment of uncertainty or loss, like just not being afraid to ask for support and help, and finding ways to release your worries. So again, releasing by, journaling, yelling, burning the paper, or ripping the paper up as like a symbolism to like get rid of, letting go of those things, remembering what is in your control and what's not in your control, and asking for help. And so I hope those things can help you, or at least gave you some tips on how you can strengthen your faith and rely on that in times of certainty, and how that can really be your anchor to get you through. Because like I've said before, the sun always rises every day. So no matter how dark it may feel right now, the sun's always come over that horizon. When the daylight always comes, the sun's always there. It'll shine again. And so you just have to keep reminding yourself and hold on to the faith that the sun will be there. It's not going anywhere. You're going to be okay. And you're a lot stronger than you think you are. A lot of times we feel like we can't handle things. And yeah, you might not be able to handle things on your own as a human, but guess what? You can handle it through your faith. You can handle it by giving that load to a higher power so that you're not carrying that pain or that uncertainty alone. Like remembering and just building that faith that everything is going to be okay. I'm okay. The universe has my back. I am loved and I'm not alone, no matter what. So I hope this message spoke to your heart. Please let me know. I really love hearing if you guys have received signs. Let me know, send me in a DM or something. If you've asked for a sign, what sign you got. I love sharing those stories. And again, hit me in the DMs if you have any topics you want me to discuss on the show or anything else that we can get into. I know I kind of gave you a little taste on some of these tools and things I use, like the malas and the pendulum and oracle cards. So that's something I can definitely speak more on, or we can go more into detail on that in other episodes or things like that. So just let me know what you want maybe more information on and things like that, and we'll go from there. I hope you guys are all doing well, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today on the Heart AF podcast. Please share this episode with anyone you can think of that may need a little hope and encouragement right now. And if you enjoyed the episode, please leave me a rating and review. Not only does it mean the world to me, but it also helps others find the show. Plus, at the end of every month, I do a drawing with anyone who has left me a review that previous month to win a $100 Amazon gift card. Just a little way for me to say thank you. So make sure you screenshot yours and send it to me on Instagram at chelsea.vanbuskirk or email me at info@chelseavanbuskirk.com. I love connecting with my listeners, so please feel free to message me in the DMs or an email, any questions or feedback you may have. If you tag me in your social posts or stories, anything about the podcast sharing, any of that, I will give you a shout out and repost on mine. I can't wait to be back with you next week. So until then, keep choosing love, keep choosing hope, and let's live heart as fuck.